A lot of people think that being quiet means you're weak, that if you're not constantly speaking up, giving your opinion or showing the world what you're doing, you're somehow falling behind. But let me tell you something, silence isn't weakness. Silence is power. It's not the absence of something, it's the presence of control. Think about it. When you're constantly talking, explaining yourself, defending your choices, trying to prove something to everyone around you, what you're really doing is leaking energy. Every unnecessary word is a withdrawal from your personal power. But when you choose silence, when you make the conscious decision to keep your focus inward instead of projecting outward, you build strength. You conserve energy. You gain clarity. See, the problem is we live in a world that celebrates noise. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be seen. But few people understand the value of being still. Few people realize that when you're silent, you're actually the one paying attention. You're the one gathering information. You're the one positioning yourself to move with precision. And here's the truth. People who talk too much often talk themselves out of their own growth. They expose plans that aren't ready. They seek validation for goals they haven't achieved yet. They look for applause before they've put in the real work. But when you're silent, you're not seeking attention, you're mastering alignment. You're tuning into your vision, to your purpose, and you're doing it without distraction. There's a reason why the most dangerous people in the room are usually the quietest. It's because they've learned the art of discipline. They've learned not to react to everything. They've learned not to waste energy explaining themselves to people who aren't even listening to understand. And when you get to that level of self-control, when you're that intentional about your words and your presence, people start to pay attention, not because you're loud, but because your silence carries weight. Now, let me speak directly to someone who's been feeling misunderstood lately. Maybe you're on a journey right now, building something, healing from something, or reinventing yourself entirely. And people don't get it. They don't understand your silence. They think you're being distant, arrogant, or cold. But listen to me, you don't owe anybody an explanation for your silence while you grow. You don't need to justify your quiet season. You don't need to announce your every step. What you need to do is stay locked in, stay focused. Because silence gives you space to listen to your own voice instead of everyone else's. It helps you hear your intuition more clearly. And in that quiet, in that solitude, that's where the real transformation happens. That's where you get your edge. You know why a lion doesn't roar every time it walks through the jungle? Because it knows who it is. It doesn't need to prove its power. It just walks in it. And when the time comes to act, it moves with purpose. That's how you've got to be. Quiet confidence, silent strength, no performance, just presence. Some people won't like it. They'll try to provoke you. They'll try to pull you into noise, into gossip, into unnecessary drama because your silence makes them uncomfortable. Your peace exposes their chaos, but you've got to rise above it. Don't take the bait. I don't get pulled off your path trying to respond to people who don't even know where they're going themselves. Focus is fragile. You've got to protect it. And sometimes the best way to do that is to say nothing at all. Just simply keep building. Keep healing. Keep learning. Keep showing up for yourself without the need to show off to anyone else. Because when the work is done, when the results are real, you won't have to say a word. Your success will speak for itself. Your progress will speak for itself. Your peace, your energy, your presence, all of that will make more noise than any words ever could. So remember this, silence is not a retreat. It's a strategy. It's not about hiding. It's about honing. And when you've mastered that kind of silence, intentional, powerful, focused silence, there's nothing louder than that. Stay silent. Stay focused. Stay dangerous. One of the most important things you've got to understand on this journey is this. Your growth is not a performance. It's not a show. You don't have to broadcast every step you're taking to improve yourself. You don't have to explain every move you're making. And you certainly don't need to prove your progress to people who were never invested in your potential in the first place. See, too many people are addicted to external validation. They want someone to clap for them every time they make a good decision. They want the likes, the shares, the applause, but what they really need is internal alignment. They need that quiet confidence that says, I know where I'm going, even if nobody else does. That's what true growth looks like. It's not loud. It doesn't need attention. It's rooted. It's steady, and it's personal. When you're focused on real transformation, it's going to look boring to most people. You're not posting about it. You're not talking about it all the time. You're not out here looking for recognition. Why? Because you're too busy doing the actual work. And let me tell you something, there is a certain level of peace, a certain level of focus that you can only reach when you stop trying to keep people updated on your progress. You ever notice how the people who are really about something, they're quiet about it? They don't announce what they're working on. They don't post about every win. They move in silence, and they let their results do the talking. That's because they've realized that growth is sacred. It's something you protect. You don't put something precious out in front of people who might not respect it, who might not even understand it. You keep it close. You nurture it. You build in the dark so you can shine in the light. Let me make this clear. You don't owe the world a play-by-play of your progress. That's not confidence, that's insecurity dressed up as transparency. You think you're being real, but what you're really doing is fishing for reassurance. And every time you do that, you give away a little bit of your power. You allow people who aren't qualified to weigh in on your life, your goals, your future. You've got to protect your vision. And sometimes that means keeping it to yourself. Not because you're hiding, but because you're building, you're fortifying, you're growing roots, not just branches. And roots don't grow above ground. They grow deep in silence where nobody can see them. But they're the reason the tree stands strong when the storm comes. You see, when you truly understand your worth, you stop needing to advertise it. You don't walk into a room trying to convince people of who you are, you just are. You move with purpose, not performance. You're not out here trying to impress anybody. You're too focused on becoming the best version of yourself for yourself. And I want you to really hear me on this. Don't let the pressure to show your growth rob you of the joy of experiencing it. Sometimes you need to sit with your progress. Celebrate it in silence. Reflect on how far you've come without needing to post a quote or tell a story. Just be in it. Own it. Let it fuel you for the next level. Because here's the thing, when the results show up, they'll speak loud enough. You won't have to say a word. People will see the shift in your mindset, the elevation in your energy, the way you carry yourself differently. That's real proof, not the highlight reel, not the polished posts. The real evidence of growth is who you become when nobody's watching. When it's just you, your discipline, your vision, and your silence. And yeah, it might feel lonely sometimes. It might feel like nobody sees what you're doing, but that's okay. You're not doing it for visibility. You're doing it for impact. You're doing it for the life you know you deserve. And trust me, when the time is right, the world will see it. But by then, you won't even need the recognition. You'll be too locked in, too elevated, too at peace to care. So don't waste your time proving. Don't get caught in the trap of performing your progress. Keep building, keep rising, and let the silence hold the weight of your transformation. Keep it sacred. Keep it yours. Keep it quiet. Let me break something down for you. Energy is currency. Every single day you wake up, you're given a limited amount of it. And just like money, you've got a choice to make. You can spend it wisely, investing it into things that give you a return. Or you can waste it, throwing it at distractions, drama, and people who don't add value to your life. And here's the truth. Most people never stop to think about how you spend your energy determines the quality of your life. The problem is most people don't even realize what they're spending their energy on. They wake up, immediately reach for their phones, scroll through other people's lives, get triggered by what someone else is doing, and start leaking energy before the day has even started. Then they spend the rest of the day reacting instead of creating, responding to negativity, getting caught up in conversations that drain them, and wondering why they feel exhausted and unfulfilled by the time the sun goes down. You've got to take your power back. And that starts by recognizing that your energy is yours. It's your responsibility to protect it, to manage it, and to make sure it's going toward the things that matter. You can't keep giving away the best parts of yourself to people who aren't even invested in their own growth. You can't keep entertaining conversations that don't align with your vision. You can't afford to keep showing up for people who drain you just because you don't want to be seen as selfish. Let me tell you something, focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. You've got a purpose. You've got gifts. You've got something inside of you that needs to be developed, sharpened, and taken seriously. And if you keep letting the noise of the world distract you, if you keep allowing other people to pull you in every direction, you'll never become who you were meant to be. You've got to start asking yourself, is this worth my energy before you engage, before you respond, before you commit? Because not everything deserves your time. Not every opinion needs a reaction. Not every problem is yours to solve. And not every relationship is meant to be maintained just because it's been around for a long time. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pull your energy back and redirect it inward. Put that energy into your mind. What are you feeding yourself mentally every day? Are you filling your head with inspiration, knowledge, and discipline? Or are you letting your thoughts get hijacked by fear, doubt, and comparison? Then look at your body. Are you moving with intention? Are you eating like someone who values themselves? Are you sleeping like someone who knows they've got work to do tomorrow? Or are you running on fumes, hoping motivation will save you when you've been neglecting the basics? And then your spirit. Are you taking time to be still, to get aligned with your purpose? Or are you filling your schedule so full that you've left no room to even hear your own thoughts? See, a lot of people feel lost not because they don't have potential, but because they've been pouring all their energy into things outside themselves, into pleasing people, into chasing clout, into reacting to noise, and they've got nothing left for their own development. That's got to stop. You've got to become intentional, deliberate, strategic. Every day is an opportunity to pour into yourself your goals, your growth, your calling, your peace. And I promise you, when you start doing that, everything changes. Your energy becomes magnetic. Your focus gets sharper. Your confidence becomes real because it's not based on what people think, it's based on what you know you've been doing when nobody's watching. People will notice. They'll feel the shift. They might not be able to explain it, but they'll know something is different about you. And it's not because you said anything, it's because you reclaimed your power. You stopped giving your energy away for free, and you started investing it like it mattered. And here's what happens when you do that. Your world gets quieter. The chaos fades. The distractions lose their grip. And you finally have the space to build, to evolve, to live in alignment with who you really are, not who the world told you to be. So from now on, treat your energy like gold. Don't waste it trying to prove anything. Don't spend it trying to please people who wouldn't do the same for you. Pour it into yourself because that's the one investment that will always pay off. Guard your energy like your life depends on it because it does. You've got to get comfortable with something that not everyone talks about enough, the fact that most people are not going to understand you. They're not going to understand your silence. They're not going to understand your focus. They're not going to understand why you're no longer showing up the way you used to. And you know what? That's okay. They don't need to. The moment you decide to level up, to really lock in and focus on becoming the version of yourself that you were created to be, people are going to start asking questions. Some of them might get uncomfortable. Some might even get offended. They'll say you're acting different. They'll say you've changed. And they're right, you have. You've changed your priorities. You've changed your perspective. You've changed what you're willing to tolerate. That's what growth looks like. But instead of celebrating it, some people will resist it. Why? Because your change reminds them of their comfort. Your elevation reminds them of their stagnation. And that's why you can't live your life trying to be understood by everybody. You've got to learn how to move forward, even when the people around you don't get it. You've got to get used to walking paths that others can't see yet. Because truthfully, if everyone understood your vision, it wouldn't be unique to you. If everyone approved of your journey, it wouldn't stretch you. And if everyone supported your silence, they wouldn't be uncomfortable in their own noise. See, silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of alignment. It's choosing not to speak just to be heard, not to explain just to be accepted. And when you reach that place, some people will take it the wrong way. They'll think you're cold. They'll think you're distant. They'll think you don't care. But that's only because they're used to a version of you that overextended, overexplained, and overcompensated. And now that you've stopped doing that, they're being forced to meet a version of you they can't control, and that makes them uncomfortable. But don't shrink yourself just to make others feel safe in their comfort zone. Don't dim your focus so others won't feel insecure about their distractions. This journey you're on, it's not for everyone to understand. It's not for public consumption. It's for your growth, your peace, your purpose. You're not here to explain your silence. You're here to live your truth. Because the truth is, most people can't see past their own limitations. So when they see you doing something different, moving different, thinking different, it challenges them. It makes them question their own decisions. And instead of doing that inner work, they'll try to pull you back into the version of you that made them comfortable. Don't dilute your discipline just because your silence makes other people uncomfortable. You've got to be okay with being misunderstood. You've got to be okay with walking alone if it means walking in alignment. Because not everyone was meant to walk with you. Not everyone was meant to understand the season you're in. Some people were only assigned to your past, not your future. And trying to bring them into your future will only create friction where there should be focus. I'm telling you, the moment you stop needing validation is the moment you become truly free. Free to evolve. Free to move in silence. Free to choose peace over proving. You don't have to respond to every opinion. You don't have to convince anybody that you're doing the right thing. You don't have to justify your growth to people who haven't even started their own journey. Sometimes you've just got to keep showing up in silence and let the results be the loudest part of your story. Let your discipline speak. Let your peace speak. Let your transformation speak. Because eventually the same people who didn't understand you will have no choice but to respect you. They may not get the method, but they'll recognize the outcome. And if they never do, that's fine too. Because you didn't start this journey to be understood, you started it to be fulfilled. You started it to become the version of yourself that doesn't need outside approval to feel whole. And when you operate from that place, your energy changes, your choices get sharper. Your life begins to reflect the clarity that only comes when you stop explaining and start becoming. Don't seek to be understood. Seek to be aligned. One of the most overlooked advantages in life is the ability to observe. I mean, really observe, not just look around, but to pay attention, to study patterns, to listen more than you speak. There's power in being the person in the room who doesn't rush to fill silence, who's not trying to prove a point every second, who doesn't need to be the loudest voice to have the strongest presence. That kind of awareness, that stillness leads to mastery. When you're constantly talking, you're not really learning. You're just expressing. And that might feel good in the moment, but it's not always productive. See, when you're always the one speaking, you're missing what's being said between the lines. You're missing the shifts in energy, the hidden motives, the subtle opportunities. But when you stay quiet, when you let others reveal themselves, you gain insight. And insight gives you leverage. We live in a world that tells you to be seen, to be heard, to speak your truth loudly and audibly at all times. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is choose silence, not because you don't have anything to say, but because you're disciplined enough to wait until saying actually matters. Because you've trained yourself to see what others overlook. Let me tell you something: when you observe more than you speak, you stop reacting emotionally and start responding intentionally. You stop getting caught up in surface level distractions and you start understanding what's really going on beneath it all. You start to see who's real and who's just performing, who's consistent and who's just talking. You begin to recognize the patterns, the cycles, the warning signs you used to miss. And what's powerful about that is this: once you master observation, you position yourself to make better moves. You stop moving based on emotion and start moving based on strategy. That's when you stop wasting time in places that don't serve you. That's when you start identifying what's real and what's just noise. You've got to understand, silence isn't about absence. It's about focus. It's about choosing to see what others are too busy talking to notice. It's about being intentional with your attention, because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And if your attention is constantly being pulled by noise, you never give yourself the space to sharpen your instincts. When you're silent, you get clarity. You begin to hear your own thoughts. You tune into your intuition, that internal guidance that's been trying to lead you, but you've been drowning it out with distraction. Observation sharpens that. It gives you a front row seat to how people move, how environments shift, how opportunities appear and disappear in silence. That awareness becomes your edge. A lot of people miss their breakthrough not because it wasn't there, but because they were too distracted to see it. Too busy talking, too focused on being noticed. But your breakthrough often shows up in moments of stillness. In conversations you're not dominating. In rooms where you're listening instead of performing. That's where the game changes. And I'm not just talking about business or success, I'm talking about life. Relationships, friendships, environments. Your ability to observe teaches you who's for you and who's just around you. It teaches you when to engage and when to walk away. It teaches you when to speak and when to let your silence speak louder than anything you could say. Don't be so quick to respond. Don't be so eager to be seen. Instead, develop the discipline to watch, to learn, to grow in silence. Because when you do that, you become dangerous, not because you're loud, but because you see what others can't. You understand what others miss. And that kind of awareness, that's rare, that's powerful. That's where mastery begins. You don't get better just by doing more, you get better by seeing more. And you can't see more if you're always moving, always talking, always reacting. Sometimes the greatest thing you can do is step back, observe everything, and say nothing. Let people reveal themselves. Let patterns play out. Let the silence speak to you. Because when you've trained yourself to observe, when you've mastered the art of being quiet long enough to understand what's really happening, you don't just play the game, you start winning it. Quietly, consistently, powerfully, watch everything, say little, move with precision. There's a moment in your journey where you've got to decide, are you going to keep talking about what you're going to do, or are you going to actually become it? Because talking is easy, dreaming out loud is easy, telling people you're grinding, you're building, you're working easy. But showing them, that's a whole different level. And it only happens when you stop needing to be seen and start needing to become. See, the real ones don't need to announce every move they make. They don't need applause at every step. They don't need to post every little win just to feel like they're doing something. You know why? Because they're too busy becoming it. They're too locked in, too focused, too deep in the process to be worried about recognition. And that's where the real transformation happens. When you fall in love with the process more than the praise. When you start caring more about who you're becoming than who's watching. That's when things start to shift. Because now you're not just performing for approval, you're building from purpose. Everybody wants the outcome. Everybody wants the life, the body, the business, the respect. But not everybody wants the discipline it takes to get there. Not everybody wants the silence, the repetition, the rejection, the loneliness. But that's where becoming happens in the unseen moments. In the dark, in the quiet, when nobody is cheering, when nobody is liking or sharing or commenting. It's just you, your vision, and your work ethic. That's the stuff that makes you undeniable. That's the stuff that builds character. Because when you really start becoming, you stop talking. You stop explaining. You stop proving. You start doing. And people begin to notice not because you said anything, but because your results said it all. But let me warn you, this phase isn't glamorous. It's not flashy. It's not going to get you standing ovations. In fact, it might get you silence, doubt, criticism. People might start pulling away because you're no longer as accessible. You're no longer entertaining conversations that don't align. You're not showing up the way they're used to. And to them, that feels like a loss. But to you, that's evolution. Because the truth is, becoming will cost you your comfort. It'll cost you distractions. It'll cost you approval. But the reward is peace. The reward is alignment. The reward is finally looking in the mirror and seeing someone you respect. Not because they're perfect, but because they're consistent. You've got to be willing to disappear for a while if it means coming back stronger. You've got to be okay with being overlooked, with being doubted, with being misunderstood if that's the price of becoming who you're meant to be. And don't worry, the recognition will come. But by the time it does, you won't even need it. Because you won't be doing it for the recognition, you'll be doing it from identity. You'll already know who you are. That's the power of silence. The power of focus. When you really lock in, when you really commit to the version of you that you know is inside, you stop chasing. You stop convincing. You stop proving. You just move. And every move has weight. Every move has purpose. Every move gets you closer to who you're becoming. So instead of asking, who's watching me? Start asking, who am I becoming when no one's watching? That's the real question. Because it's in those quiet hours, those early mornings, those long nights, those lonely days, that's where the greats are forged. Not in the spotlight, in the silence. That's where champions are built. You want to become it. Then go become it. Get your head down to the work. Sharpen your mind. Strengthen your habits. Deepen your discipline. You don't need another announcement. You don't need another opinion. What you need is execution. Quiet, consistent, relentless execution. And when you do that, when you really commit to becoming, without needing to be seen, you start attracting everything that once felt out of reach. You become the thing you were chasing. You embody it. You live it. Let your transformation be louder than your words.